It's been 10 years since Hurricane Katrina wreaked havoc on the Gulf Coast and the city of New Orleans. The Category 5 storm is the third most intense hurricane to hit the U.S. Now we ask ourselves, did we learn anything from this disaster, and will we be ready when disaster strikes again? Joining us this morning is world-renowned storm chaser and star of Angry Planet, George Kourounis. George, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
So, George, let's start off by talking about what we did learn from Hurricane Katrina.
Well, Katrina was interesting. You mentioned that it was a Category 5 storm, and it was up until about 12 hours or so before it made landfall. And it weakened from a 5 down to a 3. And the strong part of the storm hit the Mississippi side of things, where I was, in sort of Gulfport area. It was the weaker left side of the storm that actually hit New Orleans. So one thing that most people don't realize is that New Orleans did not receive the full brunt of the storm. It was not a worst-case scenario.
Wow, so that's really kind of an eye-opening statement that you just made there. So I think the question now is, are we going to be ready when that next disaster strikes? Because it might be worse.
Well, that certainly is a possibility. New Orleans has spent the past 10 years bouncing back. They're very resilient people, and the culture there is still very, very strong. And the Army Corps of Engineers have been in there, and they've been putting in brand new state-of-the-art flood protection systems and barriers. So that's all much, much better than it ever has been. Things that worry me are things such as the wetlands south of New Orleans have been disappearing at an alarming rate, and that's a natural barrier against these hurricanes. So that sort of continues to erode at the rate of about a football field every hour. Plus, as our climate warms up, we're going to end up with warmer seawaters, which is more fuel for stronger hurricanes.
Wow. So then, George, I guess I want to know as a viewer, what can we do to prepare for the future?
Well, there's a lot of things that people can do. We have to remember that these storms can be very potent. It's been 10 years since a major hurricane has made landfall in the United States. That's classified as a Category 3 or higher. When New Jersey and New York got hit by Hurricane Sandy, which was a devastating storm, it was barely a Category 1. So we really have to not forget. We have to take precautions. The forecasting has gotten a lot better. The warning systems are better. People certainly will have enough lead time to evacuate. You just have to be able to remember to, heed those warnings. They're there for a reason.
Well, exactly. And George, what do you kind of think we've learned about our environment since this devastating hurricane 10 years ago?
Well, one thing that we've definitely learned is that we have a bigger impact on our environment than we ever realized. Certainly when it comes to flood protection in Louisiana, we're eroding that away. We're having a dramatic effect on our climate. The upcoming climate summit in Paris in November is a very good indication that nations are taking climate change very seriously. We want them to really take things even more seriously and basically get down to a zero net carbon emission at some point in the hopefully not too distant future, because we don't have a planet B. There is no other place that we can go.
That's true. We do not have a planet B. Very well put. So, George, before I let you go this morning, is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with?
Absolutely. So if you want to see what has happened in New Orleans over the past 10 years, you can check out Pivot Television all week, Project Katrina, a decade of resilience. And there's more at, of course, takepart.com/Katrina for bonus information.
Awesome. George, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now stay where you are. The Morning Blend will be right back.